Hey guys, I am on my front porch right now, as you can see, and I'm here to talk about my experience at Cedar Point. I'm gonna try to get this in less than 15 minutes. It'll probably take about that long. So, starting with the beginning of the trip. So we left here. We had to wake up at like 4:30 in the morning, which is pretty early, and we drove about an hour and a half to the Atlanta airport, which is the closest international airport where we got to, and got on our plane around 8, and flew out at 8:30. Arrived around like 10, probably around like 10 or something. It was only like an hour over. It was like an hour and 11-minute flight. So we got there. We got out of the airport, and we were out of the airport probably at like 11:30 or something like that. And we didn't need to check into our hotel till 3 o'clock. So we were driving around the town, and the town isn't that great. It's like a kind of just an okay town. Our hotel wasn't that good. We should the way my parents did all the planning for the hotel, by the way, and they didn't get any. We didn't stay in a hotel at Cedar Point, which is something we'll take into consideration if we ever do go back, because that'd be much better than staying in the actual town, because we did not enjoy our experience in the town of Sandusky. And our hotel, we stayed in a hotel, I'm not going to say the name of it, but we stayed in a hotel in the town of Sandusky, but we didn't have to check until 3 o'clock, and like 3 o'clock was the earliest we could check in. We could, of course, check in later than that, so we stayed around for a little bit. It rained for a little bit, but we decided to go to the park for a few hours, see how it is. And as soon as we got there, it started raining, and it was really cold, and it was cloudy. But we waited at the front gate, and because there's shade over there, we hadn't even gone through the gate yet. But we were waiting there for the rain to stop, and when it stopped, we got on through, got into the park, and it didn't rain for a little while, so we were in there for probably like 3 hours or something. We were walking through the park. We went straight to Steel Vengeance, and we walked through Frontier Trail. Everything looked pretty, even though it was wet and it was cloudy. Just the rides everywhere, and when on camera, the ride at Cedar Point looks a lot more spread out, like stretched out, when you're looking at it on video. But when you're there in person, everything feels a lot closer together, because everything looked like it was stacked almost like on top of each other in layers almost. It felt like it looked really different from like when you see a video of it. We went straight to Steel Vengeance. We waited about an hour line for that, and it was really fun. We rode it in a random row somewhere. For the first rides, we were just trying to get on the ride. We didn't really care what row. It was the re-rides we had, which we had on 3 of the coasters, is when we cared about what row we were sitting in. We rode in Steel Vengeance. It was really fun. It was a great ride, but the ride we had on our last day was even better. So I'll talk about that later. But after that, we went straight to Maverick. Had a good time on Maverick. Also, Maverick is also a great ride. Again, like I said, in the top 12 coasters at Cedar Point. The only problem I have with it are the way the transitions can cause you to hit your neck on the restraints sometimes. But besides that, the ride is awesome, and Steel Vengeance is awesome. Got 2 great coasters there in Frontier Town, and that and Frontier Trail in that section. Those are probably the best themed areas in the park. And after that, we went to Magnum, and that was the only ride we had on Magnum. And like I said, it gives some good airtime, but it's just some of those triangular hills at the end can cause you to hit your leg against the bar, and it kind of hurt. I haven't heard too many people complain about that. It wasn't very rough. It was just each time it bumped my legs into their straight, but what I liked about it, unlike Steel Vengeance with the airtime, the ejector airtime is just sudden. Is you keep going like whoa, whoa, but there's a lot more of them with Steel Vengeance. Magnum is all those hills at the end. You're just ejecting out of your seat, and you stay out of your seat for like a few seconds actually. So it's really weird, but it's just it's just the lap bars are uncomfortable. So I put it a lot lower because I could only focus on how much my legs were hurting, especially when we got off the ride. My legs were hurting after we got off, but gave a great view of the beach. Probably it gives one of the better views of the coasters at Cedar Point. But after that, we went to Valraven. And we were in line we were at literally in the station, and it started raining, and we had to leave. We just left because it was going to rain for the rest of the day, so we just decided to go ahead and leave. We left the park on riding 3 good rides, 3 good coasters. We left. We go the next day, and by the way, the first day and half of the second day, Gatekeeper was stuck up the top of the lift hill. So basically, half of the trip, Gatekeeper was closed, and it didn't open until like halfway through till like midday on the second day we were there. So and we didn't. So the second day we went into the park, and we went straight to Millennium Force, and we rode in somewhere in the middle, and it was a great ride. I had a lot of fun on it, but the front row ride we had in the evening that day was a lot better. Because in the front row, Millennium Force is just so crazy because you got the bugs hitting your face and stuff, and I'll talk about later, and you got all the G-force and everything. It's starting to rain a little bit out here, and I might have to split this into 2 parts. I'll start right halfway through this video, but after Millennium Force, we did we got some on-ride photo stuff, and we had to put it in our car. We went and put it in our car, so we left and went to put it out in our car, and when we came back in, we rode Wicked Twister, and went straight to Wicked Twister. It was fun. Good. It's a good launch coaster. Again, like you get some cool airtime going up through the twists and stuff, but it is kind of repetitive doing it over and over again. But it was really fun. And my stepdad, when we first came here, Top Thrill Dragster was the only coaster he was like definitely not gonna ride. He said he wouldn't ride it when we got there. But after we rode Wicked Twister, and I think Maverick kind of influenced it a bit more too. But it was mainly after we got off of Wicked Twister. He said if he could do that because it's a launch, he said it'd probably be similar to Top Thrill Dragster. Even though Top Thrill Dragster, just saying the acceleration is so much crazier. But I think it got him riding Wicked Twister, made him more brave enough to ride Top Thrill Dragster, which he did, and he had a great time on it. It's really starting to rain out here, but luckily it's not getting in. It's just past the front porch. But after Wicked Twister, we went over and rode Rougarou, and it was really fun. And also, by the way, we took a video of the Sky Buckets, and the video of the Sky Buckets was taken on our way back from Millennium Force towards the front when we went out to the car, and it was running, and that is the only time we saw Raptor running that day on the set. After that time, like every other time we came by Raptor, like we did not see it running the rest of the second day, and that's why we didn't ride it, because we didn't want to do the front stuff until later, because they get more crowded in the morning, especially Gatekeeper and Raptor. So we were going to ride Raptor later, but it was closed that day, so we didn't get to ride it till the third day in the morning. But after Rougarou was really fun. It's not the smoothest B&M. I'm comparing it to the 4 B&Ms, but it's not as rough as people say it was. I didn't bang my head that much because I kept my head for it, and it got some good force. And I'd say it's probably the loudest coaster at Cedar Point. I mean, the side, like Top Thrill Dragster's launch is really loud, but Rougarou has like that nice B&M roar to it that I really like more than Raptor. Raptor had a roar, but Ruger was so much louder than Raptor. I'm not even kidding. So after we got off Ruger, I believe we went around. We went through somewhere. I think we went like just around somewhere, and I think the next ride after Ruger was we went to eat at the Back Beats Barbecue. I think after that, and we rode Gemini. After that, we went around and rode Gemini. Gemini was fun, but it wasn't dueling, so it didn't. So it was less exciting than it would be if it was racing. If it was racing, it'd be really fun, but because it wasn't dueling like it usually does, it wasn't the most exciting ride. But man, that brake run feels like you're hitting a brick wall. I'm not even kidding. You hit that brake run so hard, it felt like the most abrupt stop I've ever had on a roller coaster in my life. So, and then after Gemini, we walk up to something crazy, which I'll get to in another part. I'm going to split this into 2 parts. And, so see you in the next part. The next part is just as crazy as the first half of the trip. See ya!